and welcome to the first of two parts of our annual QPR Player Ratings podcasts, this time rating them out of 10 for the 2024-25 season. I'm joined by Dave and George again like last season. And when we did this last year, George was christened Generous George. So let's find out whether another 12 months of following QPR up and down the country has made him more battle-hardened, shall we say, or whether it's just that Dave and I are miserable. Just to be clear, QPR played 50 matches this season, and the criteria for players to be included was that they had to have made at least 8 appearances, which is just past about 15% of the season. So that discounts the likes of Joe Walsh, Emerson Sutton, Lyndon Dykes, and Eliza Dixon-Bonner, etc. Somewhat unfair to rate them based on so few appearances. Leaves us with 26 players to rate. We're going to do them alphabetically by surname, half in part 1, and in part 2 we'll rate the remaining 13 and Marti Cifuentes as well. Key thing to note is we started on a 5 out of 10 for each player and worked up or down from there. No half marks, just to make us be more decisive. And of course, let us know your thoughts and ratings in the comments. And we're starting with Lucas Andersen. George, you can start us off. What did you give Andersen out of 10?
Yeah, so firstly, I don't think it's going to be as generous, George, this year, to be honest with you. But no, Anderson, yeah, basing it off the five, I've gone for a four for him this season. I feel that he's just been a bit below average. He's been struck by injuries as well, and he's nothing like the player that we saw the season before. So it was good for him to get that goal away at Preston, but I think he's just been below average this year.
What did you give him, Dave?
Yeah, same. A four. It was a bit of a disappointment this year. He done so well season before, but he just hasn't looked at it. His legs seem to have gone a bit. He was really struggling in that run in the first half of the season. And like George said, it's nice for him to end on a good note, scoring that goal because you want to see players do well. But over the full season, I don't think he's better than a four.
Yeah, I went slightly higher with a 5. He was disappointing, don't get me wrong, but when I looked, he'd actually still made 35 appearances. It felt like he'd played less than that. But yeah, the Preston goal, I think I was maybe going to give him a 4 until that you put that Preston goal in and I went with a 5. Yeah, he's around that part, isn't he? I think for most of us. Harrison, Ashby up next. Dave, you go first on this one.
Yeah, different. I've gone with a five. I think I'm being generous here. I think as a right back, I think he was really poor. I was expecting quite a lot of him. I think he was coming in as our first choice right back, to be honest. We've done going back to centre half, but just didn't work out for him. He's been better at left back, I think, and more recently he's done quite well. I thought he had a good game at Sunderland on the right wing. He's one. I mean, I wouldn't look to sign him after his loan. I think he's done okay this season. I'm probably being too generous here, but I'll go with a five.
Yeah, I think we've got to, with Harrison Ashby, ignore the recency bias because if you're just judging him on the last
Yeah.
few games, it'd be a bit higher. But yeah, I went with a 5 as well. Could never really take to him. I think right back, I agree, is his actual worst position. Always a bit too blasé, I've always said, haven't I? And he had a bit of a Todd Kane feel to him for me when he first joined us, where he thinks he's the bee's knees. And recently he has been better, but over the course of the season, I've gone with a 5. What about you, George?
Yeah, I've gone for four to be honest with you. I feel that he's lucky he's kicked on the last few games because otherwise it was going to be a three. I think he's been extremely poor for us. I think he's cost us a couple of games, and I just for someone who's had such a academy bring up as a footballer, I think he's just not technically great, and I just don't think he looks good enough for the championship to be honest with you. But he's looked better in the last few games of the season. But we played teams who were on the beach, and it was such a low bar. So yeah, he's lucky he's got a four to be honest.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Yeah, like I say, the recency bias has probably nudged him up a little bit for a lot of us. Next up is Daniel Bennie. He's a hard one to judge because even in his cameos, he just couldn't really get involved enough. So I've gone with a 4. But like I say, the preface of that is we haven't really seen him play that much. He did well away at Oxford when he had to start up front, but he only made 13 appearances and never more than 3 in a row. So he was in and out of the team. Hard to judge. What did you give him, George?
Yeah, I've gone for five. I think, as you said, we haven't seen enough of him. I feel that he did all right away at Oxford, to be honest with you. But apart from that, it's just been from the bench. And yeah, I just haven't seen enough. I know that he's done well for the Australian under 21s, but no, I haven't seen enough of him yet. But definitely a prospect going forward.
Yeah, I think David, doesn't he play the right wing back or something for Australia? Is that something we need to consider? And what did you give him out of 10?
Yeah, I gave him a five as well, and he seems to have played in so many positions for us. So I think he's played like fullback on the wings up front. I don't really know where his best position is. Like I say, he played wing back for Australia and done quite well there. But he's definitely got potential. But like George said, we haven't really seen enough of him. It's only been really sub appearances, to be honest.
Yeah. Next up, George is Jan Celar, an interesting one. What have you given him?
Yeah, I've gone for five, to be honest. I think for the first, I think it was 18 or 20 games, I don't know, that he played for the club. I thought it was really ineffective and was poor. I put some of that down to the fact that we never really have great distribution, not distribution. He doesn't really get much to go off of, to be honest with you. Not many chances created. But then that Cardiff and Watford away games, I thought he looked a completely different player, and whether that was confidence, I don't know. But yeah, I've given him a five, and hopefully next season he can show a bit of what he showed in them two games because it was annoying that he got injured just as he started to look like a decent player.
Yeah, it was a shame he never even got back for the last month of the season as well, because I think we all want to see if he's going to be any different when he comes back. What did you give him, Dave?
Yeah, I went with four. It was such a poor start to the season for him. It's definitely. I mean, it's obviously hard coming into a new league, a new country, and being your becoming first choice striker in the championship. But he just never looked up to it. To me, his movement wasn't great. He didn't really hold the ball up. He didn't look like scoring. But then when he got that one goal at Cardiff, and then he looked a completely different player. The confidence in him to come back, the way he took that second goal. There's obviously a player there. You don't take that, score like that if you're rubbish. And, it was a shame he got injured when he did. Hopefully he comes back next year and can kind of kick on a little bit. But yeah, I don't hold out a great deal of hope for him, but there is a little bit of hope there.
Yeah, I went with a four as well, especially when he missed that penalty against Stoke. I thought his career at
Yeah.
QPR was done, but at least he bounced back, and it just sums up his luck, I think, for this season. That just as we all got excited, he obviously got injured. Still, to me, feels like a player we signed on data that showed he was an excellent goal scorer without actually considering how he fit into the QPR team. But yeah, 4 out of 10 for me. Ilias Chair up next, Dave.
Yeah, I found this a hard one. I've gone with five again. He was very up and down this year for Chair. It's probably, his least effective season. But I was having a look at his seems quite a lot. I don't think anyone got more than that. Um, he's one of them. He always creates stuff when he plays. Some of he's in that good spell in the middle of the season. Some of the crosses he was putting in for Jimmy Dunne were unbelievable. But just the injuries really has cost him. He struggled to come back, and every time he seems to have got going, he's broke down again, which has been a real shame. But hopefully he needs a pre-season and then get himself back. We know how good he can be, so I'm expecting him to kick on next season.
Yeah, his season just never got going, did it? I've made a note of it. He missed 7, was back for 7, out for 5. He was back for 18, but then was out for another 6. So
Yeah.
it's always my phrase that we're a better team with him in it. But this season, it sometimes felt like we weren't. We lost 50% of the matches that he played. I nearly gave him a 5 as well, but I actually went for a 6 just because of what I think you just mentioned, that he got 6 assists. So he still managed to top our assist chart, even though he's not been fitter and firing all season. So I ended up going with a 6. What about you, George?
Yeah, perhaps I've gone a bit generous for this one, but I've given him a seven, and I've judged off how I think he's played when he's played. He's consistently good as usual, and he's always, I feel like one of our most attacking threats. To be honest, he just creates so many chances with his deliveries. I feel like he's a better player in the middle of the park when he can actually get on the ball and control the play. I feel like he gets a bit isolated when he's playing out on the left, and just that Derby at home game, I think it was. I thought it was absolutely exceptional in that game. But in terms of when he's played, I've gone for a seven, and I agree with the statement that whenever he plays well, we seem to play well. I know you said that we've lost 50% of games that he's played in, but yeah, I just feel like a QPR team with Ilias Chair is a better team than without. So perhaps generous with the seven, but yeah.
No, it's fair enough. I think he comes out on an average of a 6, which I don't think anyone can argue with. Next up is Jake Clark-Salter. Very hard one to rate because he's played so few games. Again, I've gone with a 5 because he was not that he was ever poor when he was in the team, so it's hard to move him down. But he didn't ever manage more than 4 league appearances all season, so it's been a disaster for him. On a personal level, you feel for him again. But it has to be said, he unsettles the team because you don't know whether he's going to be able to last the 90 minutes when he does play. And then if he plays, you might have to move him out the next game. But for his actual performances, I've given him a 5. What about you, George?
Yeah, I've gone for five as well. As you said, he's only played 11 games this season, as a whole, and yeah, it's really disappointing for him because we all know that there's such a good player there when he's fully fit. But that's the point. It is when he's fully fit. I think he's been here since June 2022, and he's only played 63 games. I think it is for us. So that's a long period of time to only play 60 odd games. So I think when he's playing, he's our best defender. And Bill always said that he's the best left-footed centre-back in the league, and I'll always stick by that. But I feel this season he's just not played enough. And a bit like the Bennie situation, we just haven't seen enough of him to judge him. So I've gone for a 5.
What did you give him, Dave?
Yeah, same. When he played, he was good. He was usual high standards. I agree with George. He's one of the best in the division. When he's fit and playing, but he's not doesn't play enough. I just feel for him. He had this before he joined us as well. He seems to get these injuries, and he's been out for a long time. And you just hope he can recover and come back. He signed that new contract early in the season as well. We've hardly seen him since, so. Yeah, it's been a disappointing season for him. We definitely need him back. He's a really good player when he's available.
Yeah, definitely. We actually only lost 2 of the league games that he did play. It's the lowest defeat percentage in the squad. His quality, as you're saying, is evident. It's just getting him in the team that remains the issue. Jack Colback up next, George, you're first.
Yeah, I've gone for a 6. I feel that although he's always liable to a yellow card, we all know that. He's just got the championship experience and he looks really good in midfield when he is fit. I feel like he's consistently, when we went for our good spell, and even in recent games where we haven't done as well, I feel like he's been one of our better players. He just controls the midfield. He's so calm on the ball. So yeah, I've gone for a 6, and he's someone I'd like to see stay at the club next season because he just gives you that bit of experience, and he's one of them players who you hate to see come up against because I always used to hate to play against him. So it's good to have him on our side.
Yeah, I went with a 6 as well for him. He had a good end to the season. It was one of those where there was matches where I was thinking we should get rid of him. His legs are gone, and the next match he'd be superb. Like he was superb against Leeds, superb against Preston, but absolutely dire against Burnley, dire away at Middlesbrough. A bit of an odd one, but I went for a 6 overall. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, same to be honest. I went with a 6 as well. I think when he's played, he's been really good. I think his injury in the first half of the season really unsettled us a bit in midfield. It meant probably Varane had to play more than they probably wanted him to in the first half of the season. They couldn't really ease Varane in, and that didn't help him. So yeah, but when he has played, I think he's been really good, and I wouldn't mind seeing him stay another year. I know he's getting on a bit, but he still adds experience to the team, and I think we're a better side when he's in there.
Yeah, speaking of experience and whether they keep them, it's Steve Cook next, Dave.
Yeah, I went 6 as well for Cook. He was probably a bit higher first half of the season. I thought he was really good, but since the injury, he's probably understandably dropped a bit. He hasn't looked as good since the injury, but he's still a big player for us. If you had a must-win game tomorrow, you'd want him as your centre half. Still, I think he's a big player for us, and he's had a pretty good season. He still played quite, even though he had that injury spell out, he still played quite a lot for us this year, and we do miss him when he's not there.
Yeah, what do you give Steve Cook, George?
Yeah, I've gone for the same 6. I feel like he's not done as good as he did last season. I think that's down to the injury, as Dave said. I feel like that away game when he came in, he was extremely poor. But I thought he just lacked any sort of sharpness, and it was almost as if he was trying to get rushed back into the team at the back in that spell of the season because we looked almost like we didn't have a leader on the pitch, and that's what he is. He is a leader, and he is our captain. So yeah, definitely like to keep him for next season, but not as good as last season in terms of how he's played. So yeah, 6.
Yeah, I went with the 6 as well for a full house. The injury he's got sounds horrendous as well, doesn't it? So it's a mark of the man that he is that he rushed himself back and then obviously just couldn't continue towards the end of the season. But I'd mentioned last year I'd seen him after some games and he's always hobbling around even back then. So he's obviously got an ongoing issue, but hopefully maybe with Liam Morrison becoming into the team now, you won't have to play every week, Steve Cook. Like Dave just said, when you do then call upon him, by the definition of a defender, he's the best defender at the club. So he's still going to be invaluable to have around. And hopefully we just don't have to flog him to death next season. Caden Dembele, next, I've given him a 5. His first 20 minutes of his debut, I remember thinking, wow, what have we got on our hands there? A fantastic player. And his goal contribution rate we spoke about the other week bodes well for the future. But I've been a bit underwhelmed overall. Still struggle to see what his best position is. Looks quite easy to defend against for me. He's not one of those smaller players who's like hard to get off the ball, is he? Very easily outmuscled. Maybe something that's what they can coach into him. But for now, I've gone with a 5. What have you given him, Dave?
Yeah, same, a 5. I've been a bit underwhelmed with him, really. I think he started really well. There's definitely a lot of promise there. I think he's one that could definitely shine next season. But, you know, I thought even before his injury in the first half of the season, he was starting to dip a little bit. He was coming a little bit too predictable. And defensively, he's just a bit of a passenger defensively. He's not very good at that side of the game at all. But that's something that can be worked on. the main positive is, like you say, that he's still scored goals, he's still got assists, he's created chances. So even though I don't think he's been brilliant this year, there's definitely promise there that there's more to come from him, and I hope we see that next season.
Yeah, he's definitely one for the coaches, isn't he? What did you give him, George?
Yeah, this was one of my tougher ones. I've given him a 6 just purely because of how well we started the season. I feel although we started off so bad, he was a shining light in all of that, and I agree in that Sheffield United away game when he started, he just looked unreal player. But then ever since he's come back, I almost feel like he's almost protecting himself a little bit from getting injured again. And even saying that, he's contributed to goals in the last few games. So I feel like that injury's ruined the season a bit after such a good start.
Yeah, he needs a good pre-season, doesn't he? I think he'll be a different player next year. Jimmy Dunne up next, George.
Yeah, I've gone for 8. I haven't given anyone else above an 8 this season. But yeah, he's my player of the season, as I said. Most of the time, he's our best attacking threat, which is crazy to think, because he's a right back, usually a centre back, going through as an academy player. But yeah, it'll be a shame to see him leave, as it's predicted that he's going to leave. But I feel like he's just such a good player for us. And even when we're playing out from the back, he's always our emergency out ball from Nardi. He's just such a big pivotal part of the squad, and we saw it once again at Millwall away when Edwards got played there. He didn't do as great, and we just almost looked like we lost half our team, to be honest with you, when Dunne went in there. So yeah, it'll be really sad to see him leave. But yeah, player of the season.
What did you give him out of 10, Dave?
Yeah, 8 as well. Player of the season for me. I think he had a really good season. I thought at the start he was probably going to get phased out a little bit and that he'd be replaced at right back, but he's made that shirt his own. He's been brilliant, and he just kind of sums up what kind of guy he is. You saw early in the season when his dad sadly passed away, and he rather than take time off, he played the next game and he scored in the next game, and he just kept going for us all the time. He made such a difference in the middle of the season for us. I think we could have been in big trouble if he hadn't have had that little run when he was scoring goals and was a real threat on the right. So yeah, he's had a really good season, and like George says, it'd be a real shame if he does go.
Yeah, I've given him an 8 as well. Just so reliable, so consistent. I mean, I put up a stat on Twitter. He played 1,000 minutes more than any other outfield player. So he's always available. He's hard to defend against. We talk about it in the end of season review. He's top of every stat, attacking, defensive. He might have had the odd off day, but he plays for QPR. He's in this team. It's going to happen, isn't it? So he's just not going to be easy to replace. But 8 out of 10. Ronnie Edwards, Dave, what did you give him?
I gave him 8 as well. I think he's been absolutely brilliant since the day he walked in the door. He's played centre half. He looked just as good in midfield as well. He just looks a top player. He's so good on the ball. But you can get defenders who look good on the ball but can't defend with it. He can defend. He's a really good defender. He gets in good positions, get blocks in. Yes, so impressed with him. I think if he'd been here all season, he'd probably be looking at a 9 or a 10. He's been perfect. I mean, I saw someone say yesterday, he gave the ball away at Sunderland, and everyone thought, "Oh my God, he is human. It's unbelievable." He has made a mistake, but yeah, oh yeah, it's such a good season. I'd love to see him stay.
Yeah, I've given him an 8 as well. He just, as we've spoken about before, he looks destined for the top. Played in every game whilst he was here, so he's another one a bit like Jimmy Dunne. He's reliable, comfortable in defence or midfield. And yeah, he probably would have been player of the year if he'd been here all season. And it's what they say, isn't it, George? Don't fall in love with loan players.
Yeah, I certainly have, to be honest. I've given him an 8, and I think he's just been pure class, to be honest. I was really impressed the fact that we managed to get that deal done so early on in the January window. And I feel since then he's just been, yeah, well, one of our better players, if not our best player. He's just looked an absolute Rolls Royce at the back, and he's looked absolutely brilliant. And it'll be sad to see him playing for a different team most likely next season. And that's kind of the frustrating thing. I felt that for the last few games of the season, we're almost developing a player for another team next year. So it's annoying, but it was a joy to have him at the club. And yeah, as you said, don't fall in love with a lone player is rule number one. And I broke it. So
Yeah, so I think we all have, don't worry. Yeah, I think I saw something on Twitter. Someone put that he's almost like a shoe-in to be in the championship team of the year next season, isn't he? But unfortunately, he probably won't be in a QPR kit. It's Sam Field up next. I've given him a 7. The end of the season was really odd without him because you just got so used to him playing for QPR week in, week out. And we saw how much we missed him, particularly in March, a situation where it proved you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Don't think he was always at his best this season, but he never shies away, and hope he's fit and ready to go come August. What did you give Samfield, Dave?
Yeah, 7 as well. I think he's had a good season. Probably not his best for us, but he's played in like different parts of midfield. He's been like the attacking one. He's sat deep at times, and I think he's done pretty well. And you kind of saw how important he is to us at the Oxford game. But with him in the side for the first hour, we were brilliant and we were cruising. And then he went off, and oh my God, it fell apart very quickly, and we were hanging on a bit. And it has been weird him not being playing the last couple of months of the season. I do think we've missed him. We've seen results drop a bit, but I think he's one of the more reliable players we've got, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. What did you give him, George? Did you make it a full house of sevens, or have you gone higher?
Yeah, once again, I've gone 7. I feel like he always looks solid for us, and I really don't get the argument that some people make on social media that the team looks better without him. I completely disagree. I know that sometimes in games, especially when he plays in a deeper role, we kind of forget he's in there. But as soon as you take him out of this side, it's so recognisable. And for a few seasons now, he's been in our top 5 players. So yeah, solid as always, and yeah, I've gone for a 7.
Yeah, I think if the end of this season proved anything, it's that QPR are not a better team without Sam Field. And if he goes, people will soon realise that. Last one for this part is Morgan Fox. What did you give him, George?
Yeah, I've given him a 5. I think the word for Morgan Fox would just be average, to be honest with you. I think that's been the same for any championship club that he's been at. He's always liable to a mistake. I remember that Portsmouth at home game where he was just absolutely awful. And even the Burnley at home game, I know that I don't think he was expecting to start, but when he came in, he just did extremely poor. So yeah, 5, potentially a bit generous, but in some games he's looked all right. He's just average, really.
Yeah, he was a little bit unpredictable for me. Some matches, like you mentioned that Portsmouth one, I think of Stoke away as well. He was like beyond poor. May as well have had the other team's kit on. But then other occasions, he's come in and looked really solid, and you think, oh, he could play the next match. He's played well. So I suspect his future may lie as well, but I gave him a 5. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, less generous. I went with a 4. I think when he was bad in the games you both mentioned, he was awful when he cost us in those games. But when he was good, he was average for me. He done okay. He's a good player to have around it. With the number of injuries we've had this season, he stepped in and done a job for the team. So I don't want to slag him off or anything. I mean, he's done okay, but I'll go with a 4. And I'm sure he'll probably leave this summer. And good luck to him. Hope he gets another club.
Yeah, good luck to him. Yeah, and I'm now maybe thinking I shouldn't have given him a 5, but yeah, we'll stick with that one. And Morgan Fox is the last player for part 1. We hope you've enjoyed it. Let us know your ratings for the players. Have we been too generous? Or maybe not harsh enough? We'll be back soon with part 2 with the remaining players and Marti Cifuentes being ranked too. So join us for that. Thank you for watching as always, and come on, you Rs.